Hey everybody, I'm going to be making an Ultra UOS market update video today. We recently had a bit of positive price action for UOS. We seem to have gotten a break of this downwards trend line and the indicators are looking pretty positive. So I'm going to be taking a look at that, going over some possible scenarios, and at the end I'll be marking out some significant resistances that we will hopefully be visiting in the near future. So first, let's talk about this bottom that we put in at the end of January. I think it's a very positive sign that we saw UOS get a bounce off of the yearly moving average, because if you look back at recent price history, you can see that UOS has pretty much held the yearly moving average since it had enough data to actually process the yearly moving average here. And since this time, UOS has stayed above it and has actually bounced off of this level 3 times now. So this moving average has been extremely significant for UOS, and we've gotten a pretty nice bounce off of this moving average. Right now, we're about 46% up from the bottoms. We also found support on an area which we previously had resistance, so it seems like we flipped this area of resistance into support for us. It does seem like we got a breakout of this downward trend line, and if you look closely, we actually got a little retest of this trend line, which led into a little bit more upwards movement, but we have since corrected. And so what I like to do to kind of get a sense of the strength of this move, see if we could possibly get some continuation here, is I'm going to pull a fib retracement from the bottoms to the tops, and what we want to see is exactly this: the daily candles coming down, slowing down as we're approaching the golden pocket of this fib retracement, and seeing a nice reaction when we wick down to this level. You can see we actually got 2 wicks right off of the golden pocket. This is a sign that buyers are looking to continue this uptrend here. So it is very nice to see some wicks off of the golden pocket. We are currently finding resistance at this level right here, which is a significant support resistance level. But since we got such a nice bounce off of the golden pocket, I am expecting us to be able to break above this level and possibly look to put in a new local high. And looking at market cipher B, you can see the daily money flow still in the red, but is working its way up towards the positive. And it appears like we are going to get a green dot here soon. You can see the VWAP is starting to turn around here, and it's pretty close to crossing over the 0 line. So that, plus the fact that we got a nice bounce off the golden pocket here, means we are probably going to get a daily green dot here. Maybe look to see some more upwards action, especially if the daily money flow crosses over into the positive as well. Looking at the weekly time frame, you could say that we're close to printing a weekly bottom here. Ideally, we would like to see this VWAP moving more sharply towards the 0 line, and we are kind of seeing a bit of curvature to the downside here. Now, the weekly is more of a lagging indicator than the daily, obviously, because it is using longer term time frame data to process the indicators. So there's a possibility that if the daily continues looking bullish, and if we see this little uptrend that we're in continue, that we could see the bullishness bleed into the weekly time frame. And there's actually a pretty good example of this back in June of 2021. If you put a vertical line where we printed this weekly green dot, you could see it was actually a few weeks out from the bottom. We got a bounce off the yearly moving average just like we did over here, and we got a pretty substantial uptrend here, about 100 or 150% up from the bottoms by the time we actually printed the weekly green dot. So right there is a good example of the weekly time frame being more of a lagging indicator. So ideally, within the next few weeks, we'd like to see this weekly VWAP start heading towards the positive, and hopefully we can print a weekly bottom here. And once we do that, so long as we don't put in any lower lows here, it appears like we are going to get a hidden bullish divergence with this weekly bottom that we put in back here. You can see the momentum putting in a lower low as price is appearing to put in a higher low, so that could be a positive sign there. Now, even if we do get this weekly bottom, even if we do see this uptrend continue, I don't know if we should expect UOS to go on a massive rally right off the bat. We may see a bit of range-bound price action while we try to rebuild or regain some of the positive momentum that we've been seeing the past couple months. This is the purpose of consolidation, is to give price action a break, give people time to accumulate so we can build up momentum for the next move up. And there's a great example of UOS doing just that just a few months ago, back in March, when we put in this new all-time high. You could see that's similar to this recent high that we put in. We had a large rally. We then had a retracement. We came down to retest the yearly moving average, just like we did over here. And once we put in a bottom here, we got a pretty sharp bounce off of the yearly moving average. But after that, we basically traded in an upwards range for just over 2 months. We saw about 2 months of boring range-bound price action. We saw UOS battling with some of these resistances that we had broken down below. And this right here is a good example of UOS just sort of hanging around and waiting and building up momentum for the next move. I think it's possible that we could see something similar over here. And if you look at this price action, this sort of upwards range that UOS has been trading in, there's sort of a pattern here where we get a breakout for new all-time highs, then we kind of make a W pattern leading into the next rally, and you can see we actually repeated the same thing over here. So that's just something interesting I saw that I wanted to point out. Now, finally, let's talk about some crucial resistance levels that we have to worry about. What I like to do when I'm looking for levels of resistance after a large move downwards is to pull a fib from the all-time highs down to the bottoms. And I also like to use this volume tool on ranges that we traded in above the current price action, because the point of control of these ranges are typically going to be heavy resistance. And using this, we have a few significant areas of resistance to look out for. We have this area between the point of control of this range and the 0.382 of this fib, plus this is also a pretty significant support and resistance level. So I'd expect this area between about 150 and 139 to be pretty strong resistance. The 0.5 fib retracement at about 160 is probably going to be pretty heavy resistance. And finally, the golden pocket at about $1.80 is also going to act as heavy resistance. Plus, this was a level of resistance in the past. So overall, seems like we're getting some pretty positive signs here. I like the fact that we got a bounce off the yearly average. That shows that we definitely have potential to keep this uptrend alive. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I really appreciate all of the support. It means a lot. And I will see you all on Thursday for my next video. Peace out.